Hi there! In this video, I talk about error handling in Swift. I'm going to show you how to implement a custom error type in Swift. I walk you through the different options of handling the error. Last but not least, we'll implement localized error descriptions. In Swift, simple errors can be represented as enumerations that conform to the error protocol. I create a custom error called resource error. Now, let's use our custom error. I create a function called readResource, which takes the resource path as input argument. If everything goes well, the function returns the data associated with the resource. Note the throws keyword after the argument list. It indicates that the function can throw an error. First, I validate the path. For this example, a simple check is enough. If the path has no content, we throw an error. We'll need a dedicated error for that. So let's introduce an error case called invalid path. Let's test what we've got so far. Since the readResource is a throwing function, you can't just call it like this. The caller must handle the error in some way. I use a do-catch statement and call the throwing function with the try keyword. If I run the sample, it produces the expected result. There are also other ways to handle the error. Using a conditional try, the result of the execution will be nil if an error occurs. The code becomes a one-liner. There is a problem with this approach though. We have no idea what happened. Use conditional try only if you really don't care about the error. Ignoring the error prevents you from displaying meaningful error messages. And you can't provide a fallback solution for the given problem either. In some rare cases, you know that no errors will ever happen. In such cases, you can disable error propagation. Write try exclamation mark before the throwing expression to ignore all errors. However, if an error is thrown, it causes a runtime assertion. This crashes your app instantly, just like it did in our case. So be very careful when using forced try. You might not want to handle the error in a specific function or method. You can throw the error further by calling the throwing resource with try without catching the error. In this case, you must mark this function as throwing too. Normally, you should care about thrown errors. You might want to inform the caller about the issue. Or you could try to automatically solve the problem. For example, by retrying the failed operation if it makes sense. Or by prompting the user to re-enter his credentials. You get the idea. Now, let's go back to the readResource function. I'll add a new fake check to simulate whether a resource is available at a given path. The call will fail unless the resource path is sandbox/image or sandbox/doc. We need a new error, let's call it missing. The do-catch code must be updated to handle the new error. Sometimes it is useful to provide additional information about the error. I enhance the resource error missing with a parameter that shows the valid path. In our current implementation, I print an error description when catching the error. Wouldn't it be better to embed the error description in the error itself? Well, Swift provides the means to do that. I'm going to provide a type extension which conforms to the localized error protocol. The localized error protocol declares a couple of useful properties. These properties let you define localized messages that describe the error. The localized error protocol extension provides default implementations for all the properties. Note, however, that these will simply return nil. I implement the error description property. For invalid path, it tells the caller that the path is, well, invalid. For the missing case, it says missing resource, valid resources are, and we add the valid path. Obviously, this is just an example. In your projects, you should come up with meaningful error descriptions that help in identifying the issue if an error occurs.